Welcome to the Process Breakdown Podcast, where we talk about streamlining and scaling operations of your company, getting rid of bottlenecks, and giving your employees all the information they need to be successful at their jobs. Now, let's get started with the show.
Dr. Jeremy Weisz here, host of the Process Breakdown Podcast, where we talk about streamlining and scaling operations of your company, getting rid of bottlenecks, and giving your staff everything they need to be successful at their job. Check out, Joan, I always like to mention past episodes. There's a great episode with Adi Clevitt. There's a great episode with Carl Cox, and he talks about KPIs. David Allen of Getting Things Done, Michael Gerber of the E-Myth, and many more. So check those out. And before I introduce today's guest, this episode is brought to you by Sweet Process. So if you've had team members ask you the same questions over and over, and it may be the 10th time you spent explaining it, there's actually a better way. There is a solution. And Sweet Process is a software that makes it drop dead easy to train and onboard new staff and save time with existing staff. And I was talking with one of the founders, Owen. Not only do universities, banks, hospitals, and software companies use them, but first responder government agencies use them in life or death situations to run their operations. So you can actually use Sweet Process to document all the repetitive tasks that eat up your precious time, so you can focus on growing your team and empowering them. And sign up for a free 14-day trial. No credit card is required. You can go to sweetprocess.com. It's sweet like candy, SWEET process. I am excited to introduce today Joan Rosal. She is the COO and founding member of Multiply Me Staffing Solution. And before Multiply Me, Joan has a career for 15 years, working in a variety of managerial roles, running operations ranging from enterprise business process mapping to creative agencies to structuring startups. And you can check them out at Multiply Me. That's multiplymii.com. Joan, thanks for joining me.
Oh, thank you for that introduction, Jeremy. And it's my pleasure. And I'm very honored for you to have me here. And I hope your followers could learn a thing or two from this session.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to dig into this. And before we get into, we're going to talk about strategic planning process, why it fails, how to see it through. And you have a process you use for strategic planning. But first, just tell people a little bit about Multiply Me and what you do as a company.
So Multiply Me is an end-to-end offshore staffing solution. We specialize in providing companies with the right people to ensure that their day-to-day operations are geared towards positive results and accomplishments. We support clients in identifying and sourcing for the top talents from the Philippines. We oversee their onboarding and ongoing performance management. We primarily focus on Amazon and the e-commerce businesses, but we also support different verticals.
And Joan, how did you meet the founders?
So, funny story. The four of us actually worked in the past in an Amazon company, Amazon seller. And I actually worked there as a project manager for the digital marketing team. And then Yoni, at that time, after separating from the owners, pitched each and every one of us, like the other three members, to join Multiply Me in building the company from the ground up. And like upon learning about my past experiences, of course, like he asked me to join it.
Yeah, I talked to Yoni about it, and it was a very interesting situation of what transpired with that company and him coming on. So you could check out, there is another interview that we have done on that. So it's pretty interesting story. But ultimately, having just a different viewpoint of the direction and culture. And then he went off and has Multiply Me. And so, Joan, the strategic planning process, why does this fail?
Okay. So first, I just want to share, I've chosen this topic because it is my main responsibility to execute strategic initiatives and why it fails. So although, like, of course, with planning involved, you lay out realistic and well thought out goals and ironclad strategies, and yet they fail because, or like, goals get abandoned midway, they're reworked or not met at the end of the year because of, like, for me, there's 7 factors that greatly affect the results. And those are communication, culture, people, leadership, success metrics, adaptability, and rewards. And I got that 7 from my experience as either a facilitator of strategic planning, a participant, or just a regular worker that after the planning's done, are thrown in the results and are asked to do more or change process, like follow a new process without any explanation whatsoever.
So let's walk through those individually for a second. So start with communication in the strategic planning. So what do you mean by that?
Okay, so communication is like how we communicate the plans to the rest of the organization. So for me, if everyone else doesn't buy into the idea, it's not going to work. So everyone needs to understand the big picture and how each person in the organization will help turn that cog. Like, people should see it as their plan and not the leadership's plan, or else like it feels like it's forced. They're forced to do more without understanding the whys and what it means to their day-to-day lives.
Got it. So communication, making sure each individual knows kind of their piece and the importance of their piece so that they can, take ownership and buy into the whole process.
Yeah. And
Got it.
aside from the initial announcement, how we communicate by means of our words and action during the full extent of the plan is important. So, like, we have to guide the whole organization by giving them insights on how realistic and feasible are the goals, giving them updates, like how far along are we on the targets, how much hustling is needed, how much more. I mean, how solid is the plan really, and like, are we really in this together? That's kind
Got
of
it.
question.
That makes sense. So communication. So is this after the leadership team is like, we need, this is a big goal, this is a big initiative for us, and then this kind of transpires after that?
Yeah,
Is that right?
that's correct. So this is for the rest of the organization, but of course, before the actual planning session, and how we did it with our own strat planning last year, was we, of course, like, we communicate ahead of time, like 2 or 3 weeks, so everyone would be ready. We gave out, we've readied reports, so anything that they want to check and validate of like things, our accomplishments, and what we could accomplish later on would be there at the ready. We gave out additional reference materials, like helpful articles, like really to get them like in the zone beforehand. We provided, like, we asked them actually, because we're traction, we're
EOS.
traction based, EOS model. So we asked everyone to read the book Traction beforehand.
I've interviewed
so
Gino
that helped a
Wickman.
lot.
Yeah, it's a great
So
system.
awesome.
Yeah. So communication's one, and you highlight, I love that. So if you haven't checked out Traction by Gino Wickman, check it out. Next is culture. So talk about that part.
Mm-hmm. So culture and people actually work hand in hand, but with culture, developing your plan with great consideration on how you understand your culture is essential. So if your company culture or your values are not open to change or continuous improvement, then you should expect resistance along the way.
That makes sense. So it kind of backs up into thinking about and talking about core values and hiring for those core values.
Mm-hmm. And as a staffing solution company, we it's one of the things that we consider as a good hire if we hire based on the values instead of just scale.
And so you found it. So culture and then people.
And people, the people component works two ways. So the first is the composition of the people that contributed in the creation of your strategy. So like as part of the communication piece earlier, for them not to feel like it's the leadership plan being shoved to them, like they need to be part, like their voices should be heard. As like for us, we've actually, aside from our department heads and our business unit heads, we've asked a couple of representatives from different departments to join our strategic plans, our planning sessions, as they were the ones to validate how reasonable were our asks in terms of the targets that we're setting, the timelines that we're setting, the things that we want to change. If it all makes sense to them, they understand, then like even before the announcement, we already got people's buy-in.
Got it.
And then the second is the composition of people within your organization. So like that's why it ties with culture, because like these are the people that would work day in out, and like they would really be the ones who execute these plans. Like we just think of them; they're the ones who execute.
Yeah, I could see that, how you kind of have to go to them and go, here's what we laid out. Is that making sure there's a balance between ambition and realistic, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And
I guess that goes into timeline as well.
Yes. So like really focusing on your people's capabilities and your capacity. So it's usually our failure to tap into their collective talents, assess what they can do and can't do. We often misjudge the external environment and the response of these stakeholders.
So what's next? So we have communication, culture, people.
And then leadership. So it's always a question of how committed is your leadership in modeling the way. So like, are we walking the talk? So I don't want to sound like a priest here or something, but it is true, because like the leaders are the role models, right? And so if people would sense that the commitment of the leadership team is lukewarm at best, then that's the same response you're going to get. So like showing that we follow our own plan and like how we operate and make decisions are all towards realizing our goals will greatly influence how everyone will respond to your strategy.
So you have to really embody that you're, whatever it is, you're all in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like you're the first one to drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. I could see if you're, as a leader, not really excited about something, how are other people supposed to get excited
Yes,
about it?
That's true.
So, okay. Communication, culture, people, leadership. What's next?
The next one's success metric. So I am I'm obsessed with numbers. I'm very data driven. So of course, this is part of my list, but it is critical to monitor our progress and to measure everything, like our outputs, our outcomes, even the unintended effects, and like get regular feedback from all stakeholders. So like focusing on the right metrics and sharing that with everyone is important. So with our company, we have what we call decision dashboards, and it's comprised of all our only metrics that matter. So like we're really focused, and everyone at any point in time can go to those dashboards and see how much we need to work on, and possibly like what we need to tweak. Also, knowing how to measure and how to validate this success metrics is key, because like even if you hit that, again, like depending on your culture and the people within your organization, there's always going to be doubts. So like they need to understand like how you what's the criteria for saying it's a success or a failure, right?
I want to go a little bit deeper in the success metrics piece, because we were talking before we hit record, and you create these dashboards. And one of the things that you look at as an important metric is a successful placement, right?
Yeah.
So talk about what makes a successful placement and what you found makes a not successful placement for people out there who are, looking to hire and onboard staff.
Yeah, but just to quickly correct, so I don't make the dashboards. It's actually a very awesome guy in our company named Jab. So I just like help direct and tell them it's like what each dashboard, what story should each dashboard say, and how we're going to use these metrics in the business. But yeah, answering your question about our success metrics for successful hires. So one is the length of course, like retention. Of course, like in the past, you can't have everything perfectly. So there would be attritions that would happen within the onboarding period. In our onboarding period, it takes about 3 months because you want to make sure that we account for the learning curve. And so if people, we call the people that we staff to companies multipliers. So if they get it traded within that onboarding period, then of course it's not a successful hire. Two, so we have like temp checks in place to make sure that we have the correct fit of people. So that happens immediately after the training period, and then 2 other performance reviews. And then for the upon the decision making, and I should have started with this, like when the client decides to hire someone, like it's successful because it ticks all the boxes. So before we start sourcing, we actually have a sourcing kickoff call with the clients to really understand their requirements. So like we have tick boxes in our system to see if each candidate has successfully would have that on their scale, for example, number of experience, and that includes the culture fit. So we ask clients for their hiring and firing characteristics, and so we put a score. Like we have a scorecard for each candidate, so that we can tell like how successful they're going to be with each of the placements.
Yeah. So walk me through the process a little bit because it's interesting from what's by me. So you'll have a call, assess the needs. You'll have a call with the client to talk about the culture, the process, what the job is, all of that. What's next in the process?
So what's next is we finalize the job description based on the discovery discussion with the client for them to approve. And then that's the only time we start sourcing. And we actually have an active pool. Like we have a pool of candidates at the ready. So if we could endorse candidates as soon as possible. Or if it's very a complex role, then it takes a couple, of course, longer time. But yeah, we make sure that we follow the requirements.
Got it. So then you go out to the pool of candidates that you have, or outside of that, and you source candidates. And then what happens after that?
And then, so we follow the process. So it's part of the call as well. Like if we're going to follow the usual thing of just the set of interviews, or if the clients would require additional tests or additional layers of interview before they decide on who they want to go with. Once they've made their decision, then that person is off to onboarding. And for new clients, we actually have an onboarding prep call. So they know what the process is even before we start that kickoff with the multiplier.
Yeah.
So we know they're invested, they understand how long it's going to take, what's required of them, what their part is, what their responsibility is as well on those 3 months during the onboarding period. And then once they graduate, then they're off to the operational phase, or they're assigned an account manager, and then they go to the regular routine. But we don't move people to operational without a working scorecard, because it's very important for us to, of course, like make sure that they are performing at their best once assigned to the client.
Yeah. Joan, talk about what's important in the onboarding and training part to include, because, probably I imagine with anything, even with the client, that onboarding phase is critical. You're kind of in this excited phase and you don't want either party to drop the ball. What's something to make sure to include when you are starting the training and onboarding with the new staff member?
So we start out the process, like I said, like we have a prep call with the client alone, to get sure, to make sure like they're invested with the whole onboarding activities, before we schedule a call with the client and the multiplier. So like everyone's aware of everything that's going to happen and what their responsibilities, what their role is during that onboarding. And then we have onboarding managers, like that's purely their role to make sure that the whole onboarding process would run smoothly. And beforehand, like all the schedules would be like all the meetings would be scheduled, of course, because we have two review sessions. And then, of course, like we always get feedback from the client, like temp checks to make sure like everything's okay. If there's anything that they feel are a little off, then our onboarding managers would have like coaching sessions with the multipliers and try to correct.
There's a lot of support around this process. Like.
Yeah, so it's like the 3 months is really like very handholding for both the client and the multiplier, especially if like these are new clients. But we do have clients they already have a team of multipliers with us. And so they've memorized the onboarding, but they still go through it. It's easier for them, but they still go through the whole process as they believe in it. Mm-hmm.
So we have communication, culture, people, leadership, success metrics. What's the next one?
The next one is adaptability.
Mm-hmm.
Because like even the best conceived plan requires adjustments along the way, right? So once you have your success metrics, your system of reporting and all that, then you keep tabs on your your progress. And then it would help guide you to identify flags on how and when or where to tweak the plan. So like there should always be room for improvement, room for change. But as long as we always keep the goal and adjust the plan and not the other way around.
Yeah, I'm sure within a plan, people hit snags or roadblocks. Yeah. And you don't just want to ditch or give up on the plan. You just want to figure out, if you have that main goal in mind of what you want to accomplish, you just kind of have to see your way around it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So just small tweaks will do.
Yeah. So adaptability, and what's the seventh?
So the last one is rewards. So it's like, what would it take to keep people focused on the goal, right? Like what would make them follow the game plan? So even if your company is composed of go-getters and results-driven employees, it would always like boil down later on to the same question of what's in it for me? And this may be perceived as a negative, but we could use it to our advantage, so that we in turn would not be creating greedy robots. So like milestone should be set to celebrate our progress with everyone in the company. People should be recognized for contributions, and rewards should be given to the ones that go above and beyond.
So what are some examples of celebrations and rewards?
So like with our company, we have since we're following traction, so we have quarterly rocks, and then immediately after Rocks review, we would have a town hall. So it's an all hands meeting so that we could report our progress. And we could celebrate the little wins, like the victories, like what we've accomplished in that quarter. And then we recognize people for like the MVPs for the quarter. And then we allocate rewards. So either like in cash and kind or anything, be it small or big, but they feel that their effort is like recognized, and like they feel the importance of working with a team, like following and like believing in the plan and the goals, right?
Have you seen anyone outside, not including organization, other outside ones, any creative celebrations or rewards that you've observed?
Since we're actually a remote company, so we couldn't do this as much as I want to. Like with the old companies I work with, celebrations usually mean drinking in bars, or like giving out like vouchers for relaxation, for example, like spas and wellness programs and things like that.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I've seen some organizations, bring in, like if they're in person, bring in like a massage therapist or something, and everyone just takes a break and gets like a short massage or something like that. So this is Joan. First of all, thank you. And I could see how if people miss a step in here, how the strategic planning process could fail and how it doesn't get seen through. And I really appreciate your time walking us through that. And just to summarize with, the strategic planning process, it's the communication, the culture, the people, the leadership, success metrics, the adaptability, and the rewards kind of completes the whole picture. And I want to...
There's a bonus.
Yeah, go ahead. Give me the bonus.
How to see it through. So like, aside from ticking all the 7 boxes correctly, like what helps from my experience is like establishing clear accountability for each deliverable and action plans to ensure movement.
I love it. Yeah. And so, Joan, I want to point everyone to Multiply Me, multiplymii.com to check out more about the company. Are there any other places we should point people towards online, or is that the best place?
Yep, that's the best place. So the website, Yoni also has a podcast. If you guys want to listen to it, it's Successful Scales. Aside from Multiply Me, we actually have another company. It's called Escala, and it's our consulting service arm.
So you could check out also Escala. It's ESCALA as well. So. Yeah. Joan, thank you so much. Everyone, check out Multiply Me, check out more episodes of the podcast, check out Sweet Process. And thanks, everyone. Thanks, Joan.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Process Breakdown Podcast. Before you go, quick question. Do you want a tool that makes it easy to document processes, procedures, and/or policies for your company so that your employees have all the information they need to be successful at their job? If yes, sign up for a free 14-day trial of Sweet Process. No credit card is required to sign up. Go to sweetprocess.com, sweet like candy, and process like process.com. Go now to sweetprocess.com and sign up for your risk-free 14-day trial.
Hi, this is Owen, the CEO and co-founder here at Sweet Process. If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast interview, actually, you know what I want you to do? Go ahead and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. That way we get more people aware of the good stuff that you get here on this podcast. Again, go on to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review. Looking forward to reading your review. Have a good day.